Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Men and Sex. I'm your host, Mr. Wood. Welcome back for another episode. If you've never been here before, this podcast is all about normalizing conversations around sexuality, intimacy, masturbation, all the taboo subjects that people are hiding from. We bring that into the light, we bring it forward because the things that you don't talk about end up having the most power over you. Now, today we have I'm going to say vibrant episode. I have no idea what's going to happen, but we're going to talk about psychedelics, professional cuddling, mindful masturbation, EFT. You might not even know what that is. We're going to dive into it, all of it. I've got a guest today. It's Victoria Angelhart, and she is an executive coach, ceremony musician, psychedelic guide, and founder of Tap into Freedom, which is psychedelic EFT. She's a passionate pleasure permissionary who brings people out of their minds into their heart space, specializing in embodied intimacy and somatic healing, serving as a transformational guide for personal growth. Victoria empowers clients to lead, live, and love fully expressed using music, meditation, EFT tapping, and psychedelic guidance to foster authentic heart-centered transformation. Welcome to the show, Victoria Angelhart.
Thank you so much for having me.
I think one of the first things that we need to go into is just giving a little bit of a background on what EFT is. I think that would
Mhm.
be a great place to start, and then we'll weave that, come back to it again later.
Yes, EFT stands for the Emotional Freedom Technique. It was founded by a guy named Gary Craig a long time ago. He was over at Stanford and he was an engineer, and he figured out a way to use percussive rhythmic tapping on the body on these different acupuncture meridian points. So instead of having to go to an acupuncturist and get needles put in, you can actually do it to yourself at home by tapping. And when you do that and you combine it with the neuro-linguistic programming impact of using language consciously to bring things to the surface, particularly around your stuck emotions or the limiting beliefs that you're ready to let go of, then poof, things dissolve, emotions transform, and you are able to really feel more centered, more grounded, more connected to yourself, and even more embodied. And so I love this modality because it's something that doesn't just do the talk therapy that just keeps you kind of spinning your wheels, just rehashing things. It actually somatically processes the stored stress in your body. So it comes out and it doesn't stay with you anymore because it's lost its charge.
Let's talk about meridians just for a moment because I don't, I think not a lot of people know about meridians, and I continually am learning a lot more. I've actually learned a lot more through sitting with Combo, which for
Mm-hmm.
the listeners is medicine of the toad. It's a wild ride. Learn more about it. I highly recommend it. But as I've learned more about the meridians, I think it's important to share that understanding here in regards to tapping, which is I'll say it in my very skateboarder, snowboarder, punk rock language that's not brilliant is like it's parts of your bodies that are interconnected to other parts of your body. So if I tap a certain part of my body, there's a meridian or a system that is interconnected that is having an impact elsewhere. And I'm pretty sure I just learned that there's something to do with your actual ring finger is somehow connected to your heart. And that's why we wear a ring on that finger. So there's all these interconnected systems, and I'll pass it over to you to
Yeah.
share a little bit more about the meridians.
Yeah, well, you pretty much got it. The idea where we tap is on the different beginnings of the meridian. So there's one here at the top of the head, inside of the eyebrows, on the side of the eye, under the nose, on the chin, on the collarbones, and the front of the chest, down here in the front of the ribs. My favorite hilarious awkward one is under the armpits. We got meridians there.
Mm.
And then to get even more thorough, there's also meridian lines that run, as you're saying, down to the ring finger through all the hands. So we tap the inside of the wrist and then the side of the thumb and all the fingers except the ring finger. We actually tap the bottom because the meridian runs right here on the bottom
Whoa.
of this finger. And then we go back to the top of the pinky and then we end at the side of the hand. This is also called the karate chop point. And so the idea here is that we don't actually know which one of those meridians is where the energy is stuck. But if we continue tapping through all of them over and over, whichever one is the kind of clogged pipe will unclog. And so we just keep using all of them.
Mm. Now, as the listeners know from the title of this podcast, Men and Sex, of course, this is going to deeply connect to sexuality, sexual energy, and I would say, like you said, clogged pipes or blocked energy
Mhm.
for a lot of people. And this is something we know is happening in large scale, is that we have younger and younger men at greater and greater numbers that are being prescribed ED medication
Yeah.
that is very, very highly probable that it's connected to blocked energy
Mhm.
and meridians that could use some attention.
Absolutely. I don't believe that for most cases ED medicines are necessary. I think that so much of it is really around changing the stories in the mind and actually creating a new relationship to the body. I've been teaching these things, I call them solo self-pleasure ceremonies, and most recently I'll be teaching one in a few weeks in a 300 person-ish festival called Shame-Free Solo Sex. And in all of these, whatever title I give it, it's around understanding that your body has an innate wisdom. And if something isn't working in your body, there is a reason it isn't working properly. And when you start to slow down and tune into what's actually going on there and bring attention to it, bring care to it, and bring empathy and kindness rather than judgment, shaming it, trying to make it wrong, trying to act like only something from the outside can fix you. If I just take a pill, then I'll get better. That's never going to work. You have to go to the root, to what's actually coming on inside. And oftentimes it's shame or it's fear or it's guilt or some variety of a negative emotion that is keeping you shut down. And that's where my work really comes into play.
And this is really what led me on the path to focusing so much on sexuality, is being a part of men's personal development for so long and continually hearing people talk about sexuality and say, I've never told this to anyone before, and then some connection to emotion of shame.
Yeah,
That's like the most common thing that I've experienced. I've never told this to anyone before, and I feel shame about it. And it's, of
absolutely.
course, those go together because we would tell people things if we didn't feel they were wrong, bad, disgusting, evil, or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to talk about working with shame and EFT tapping and whatever it is that you do
Mhm.
because I think this is so common, almost guaranteed for the vast majority of men, that there is a block in their sexual energy or in their creative energy, this channel of energy that
Mhm.
can start there that is related to some belief, some story that I am wrong, bad, broken, not good enough, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I started out working as a professional cuddler. We can get
Oh,
back into
yeah.
that more soon. But
Yeah.
I've worked with over 500 men in the Bay, doing a variety of work with either professional cuddling or embodied intimacy sex coaching, or with my EFT Tap into Freedom program, or with psychedelics. And I can just say that over and over, what I find is that someone in their adolescence shamed them for masturbating. Or when they had sex one of their first few times, they ejaculated too quickly and were shamed by their partner. And those two adolescent experiences I find most often are stored so deeply in the psyche that when that can be opened, brought to the surface, loved, seen, and healed, then so much magic is possible. But getting a man to admit, like, oh, yeah, this happened to me when I was 13. Or another huge thing I did not anticipate when I started professional cuddling was how many of the men that I would work with had actually been sexually assaulted by women. And many of them, it was early childhood sexual abuse or trauma. And hearing that these experiences in their childhood had kept their bodies shut down and kept them from being able to experience or feel pleasure. And so I think that just honoring the fact that it's so common that so many men have had this experience, one of them, and whatever the experience is, it is not a death sentence and it's not something that you're trapped in and stuck in for the rest of your life. But admitting to yourself that this happened to me does not make you a victim. It makes you empowered by bringing it up to the surface, bringing the shadow to light so you can actually move forward rather than trying to pretend it's not happening, but it's taking up all this psychic space in your body and in your genitals.
On the last episode, I just interviewed a man. Sometimes I do episodes where I interview men anonymously, and that was the exact story. At 8 years old, a female cousins in some way, abused him and then made fun of him for not being big enough at 8 years old. And we were just talking about like how insane is that for an 8 year old to carry an 8 year old nav
Yeah,
there's just no way to compute that.
yeah.
And like you said, it takes up so much psychic space, takes up
Mm,
so much space in the mind. And I got another episode coming out where we talked about how guilt has
mm,
this propensity to say, don't look at this thing.
yeah,
Don't look over here. But ultimately, that's what we have to do is look right at it and go
right.
towards it.
Yeah.
So having done this work with men and this commonality in this story, what have you how what is the way that they share that showing up in their relationship to sexuality as the adult men that they are?
Yeah, a lot of them come to me in sexless marriages. And many of them come to me because if they're single, they're afraid that they won't please their partners, so they won't even try. And so many of them struggle with getting an erection or maintaining an erection or ejaculating when they want to. And so those issues around performance are really the crux of what can diminish a man's strength and conviction in his own masculinity because there's this sense of like, oh, I'm small, I'm weak, I should be ashamed, no one will love me. There's this sense of a lack of worthiness or a lack of lovability that is correlated with sexual performance for men in a way that is just so harmful.
I was just talking about this morning with a dear friend of mine. We were talking about that it's something that I can say in words, but it can't the depth or weight can't be passed in the words,
Hmm.
which is the way that we relate to sexuality. I'll speak as a man, has an impact on the way that I show up everywhere in my life.
Yeah.
And that in the bedroom, if I'm struggling with an erection, if I'm coming too early, if I'm feeling performance anxiety or worry of not being good enough, that will be everywhere. That
Hmm.
will not just be in the bedroom. It will be, once again, taking up psychic space
Yeah.
and how I walk and talk out in the world. And the more that I talk about this subject and the more that I go into, the more I realize just the profoundness of working with sexuality, working with these things in the bedroom in an intentional, conscious way, just how powerful that is.
Hmm.
What what did you notice in men's lives as they started to just have these conversations with you and maybe do some of the practices? What did you see change in them through
Hmm.
that process?
Well, I have a really thorough intake form, and this discovery questionnaire intake form of mine goes really, really deep, and it's very, very thorough. And so it forces men right off the bat to notice and to be able to articulate what is wrong in my sexual life. What is it that I would like to have or be or feel or do or experience that I'm not able to with the way that my body is operating right now? And so many men will say after they fill out that form, I've never told anyone this ever before. I can't believe I'm talking to you about this. I've never even spoken to my therapist about it. And so, what I like to offer is just my gratitude for their willingness to show up for their own healing and to really offer myself as a space of safety that they can turn inward and look at these things in a way where they know that they're not going to be shamed, they're not going to be ridiculed, they're not going to have any of those fears that might happen in a more dating sort of setting. Working with me is a really powerful safe container. I'm trained in sexological bodywork and somatic sex education and somatic attachment therapy. And so those three sort of all together, and then IFS, internal family systems. And so the way that I work specifically is sort of all wrapped in a bubble of a modality that I call tapping out of trauma. And most everyone comes to me with either a big T trauma or a little T trauma. And so I believe that the only way we can heal is by moving at the pace of trust.
Mm,
And that really is trusting their own system, their own body. Like, how far can I go today? Am I willing to even talk about the issue that is really what the issue is? Or do I want to skirt around it? Or do I only want to talk about like what my partner is doing? Do I want to focus on blaming her? And like I'm not willing to look at my own shit. And so sometimes it takes a few sessions before men feel safe enough to open up. But oftentimes, the power of the protocol that I use with tapping out of trauma is I don't actually even need to hear the story of
yeah.
what happened to you. You never have to tell me. You can just simply come up with a title of it, like The Day I Was 13. And we just tap on the day you were 13 while you imagine it, and I take you through a process. And by the end, usually they start with intensity of a 0 to 10 scale, somewhere between a 7 and a 10.
Mm,
And by the time we're finished, it's at a 0.
mm,
And can I tell you an anecdote about a really profound transformation I saw in a client?
please.
Yeah, so I have a client who he's been in my community for a few years. I've guided him on a psychedelic journey. He's come to a lot of the workshops that I've done. And he reached out to me because he was like, it's taken me a few years to feel safe enough with you to open up about this because I've never told anyone in my entire life, and this has been a problem for like 25 years. And I was like, I feel so honored. And as we came in for this session, he started describing a time where he went to have sex with someone and his penis didn't work. And the story that he made up, yes, the story he made up in that moment was that his penis was broken and that meant there was something wrong with him. And as we went through my Tap into Freedom protocol to really dive deeper into what was going on and what he was thinking and feeling and all of this, it came out that he was drunk, maybe also high, and it was someone that he would never have hooked up with normally, but he felt like he was supposed to because he was like having like a high body count and some sort of thing. He was in college, he was young and on a wild streak. And as we got into it, what he discovered that I brought to light for him is that his body was actually working perfectly. His body was giving him a no. You should not be having sex with this woman right now. And he looked at me and you could just see the light bulb going off of he's not trusted his body for 25 years because of this experience. And as we did the work, he reframed it to like, "Oh, I should have trusted my body. This is exactly my body working for me to protect me and keep me safe."
Mm,
And after we reframed that, we went through the rest of the session and he was able to touch himself and go into a mindful masturbation practice that I guided him in, where he was able to maintain an erection and feel connected to his sexuality, to his heart. He
mm,
shut down his heart 25 years ago.
mm,
And in that practice in my session, he reconnected them for the first time and left totally beaming and went home that night and had sex that was mind blowing for the first time in 25 years.
mm.
So that's the power of really being willing to admit what happened and to be open to reframing it, to seeing it differently, and to trusting the body and also moving at the pace of trust. Like it took him a few years before he was willing to go in and do this work with me.
Mm. I love that story so much, and I think this is such an important subject. I want to back that up with a story of my own
Yeah.
because I've been on that journey. I was in my late 20s and the same things were happening to me. I was feeling worried, I was feeling anxious, I was feeling stressed, not trusting my body. Went on my own journey and really went into embodiment and creating trust with my own body. And I was in a relationship that I was very attracted to this woman and never had any issues with my body, quote unquote, not working. And one time we were being intimate together and that happened. My body wasn't doing what it would normally do. But I had the background to trust it. And I was just like, all right, there's a reason why this is happening, which was so beautiful and profoundly healing for that connection to trust the body in that way. And we just went into other intimacy, and it was like I didn't even make an issue out of it.
Hmm.
And the next day, pretty early on, my partner, I had to take her to the hospital because an ovarian cyst burst.
Hmm.
And it was one of those moments that it was like my body knew something
Hmm.
profound.
Wow.
And that experience has been life altering, and I'm so grateful for the journey I went on before it. But I think this is a huge educational piece, moving at the pace of trust and trusting the body. This is a huge educational piece for men that is your body may know something that your mind cannot perceive or
Yeah.
understand. And there is an education of understanding how much wisdom and intelligence is in this body. And if it's not doing something, there's probably a reason to discover and be curious about, not go, oh, my body's broken.
Yeah. Shooting the messenger.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And I don't think a lot of men have had that opportunity to go on that path of, for one, reconciling the trust that's been broken.
Hmm.
Especially, I think about how wild it is to take ED medication now and force your body to do something that now it has even less choice to
Yeah.
share its intelligence of like when maybe that's not something that should be taking place.
Absolutely.
And a difference between what I like to say, my mind craving arousal or my body actually being aroused. My
Hmm.
body's not actually aroused. There's potent information there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'll pass it to you.
Yeah. When you say that, it just reminds me so much of um, the mindful masturbation practices that I teach in the self-pleasure ceremonies is rooted in that exact thing. It's our minds are so wild and they can come up with all kinds of fantasies and they crave arousal and our body is oftentimes along for the ride, but it doesn't always do what you want it to do when you want it to do it, especially when in your mind you're creating a scenario that's not in alignment with what's actually happening in reality. And that's a lot of times what's happening with ED drugs. And when I teach men to have a new relationship to their bodies and to self pleasure, I ask them to stop fantasizing completely. I ask them to stop watching porn completely. And sometimes it takes some time to wean down. But if you can actually get to a place where you are coming to pleasure from a place of feeling yourself from the inside out instead of thinking about it from the top down, you can experience what is actually the truest and highest portal of ecstasy and bliss in your own body.
Mm. Being a man that I really was at the beginning of the porn, whatever you want to call it, epidemic or however
Epidemic, yeah.
however you look at it. It took place in my mid-teens, early teens, that was actually starting to become a thing where that was available on the internet. So I've had a very interesting ride with all of that. And what I have figured out through my own experience and working with so many men is that it has primarily become a mind craving arousal, and then the body is like the tool or mechanism to get what that the mind is craving.
Exactly.
Especially, I think about all the young men today, it's probably almost guaranteed that a large percentage of them are watching more sex than they're actually having intimate experiences.
Absolutely.
And so that is going to do something very different to the way that we're hardwired for sexuality. If I'm
Mm.
watching other people that are not physically there, I cannot feel them or their
Yeah.
presence or the situation,
Yeah.
and it's all just coming from visual and audio. It's such a hard wiring that so few of us have the opportunity to really look at and go,
Hmm.
might I want this wiring to be a little bit different?
Hmm.
And from the inside out, or from the body. I like to talk about when we were teenagers and we had spontaneous erections. There was
Hmm.
no mind involved in that. Our body just was aroused.
Yep.
And it maybe it won't be like that for some of us that it was like in our teen years, but moving back towards, okay, can I notice when my body is aroused?
Hmm.
What is that like? Can I invite more of that in?
Yeah, exactly. And can I consciously choose to bring myself into a state of arousal from the body centric perspective? I talk about the 5 keys of embodied intimacy, and it starts with intention, especially when you're going to be masturbating. What is your purpose? I teach and practice what I call vocal sex magic, and that is a whole other thing. But within this, framework, the intention is I'm going to use my sexual life force and creative energy to call in and manifest what it is I want to have or be or experience or do in the world rather than just release that energy willy-nilly. And so having that intention is so profound. And then so is the practice of consciously touching and starting to touch in different ways. There's a dear friend of mine, Sheza Cheryl, who she taught me this thing that she calls bliss energetic touch or something like that. And so it's these different ways of touching that when you learn to touch yourself in like an earth touch and a fire touch and a water touch and like all the elements that she's brought in, you actually can play and be curious around what does my body enjoy? Where does my body want to be touched? And I like to say the most important thing, the most important key of embodied intimacy is to follow what feels good.
Mhm.
And so once you're touching in a way that feels good, you can then start making sounds and opening your voice. That's a whole other episode, probably. I know you interviewed someone else on that recently. I probably have a different take on it, but I see almost consistently across the board in every session I do that men will not open their mouths. And I find this in my own sexual relations that I have personally as well. This closed jaw, like literally tight jaw, and inability to just open and be like, "Oh, ah."
I want to hear about your like personal experience with this because I'm really curious, and I feel exactly the same on my own journey. It's been so healing to bring in more sound. And
Mhm.
I love to learn more about tapping because I love to bring in like getting aroused and shaking and making
Mhm.
noises or being more vocal. And I still notice this just like that, a closed jaw. I'll be like, man, I
Mhm.
haven't made a noise in a while. Like that's so
Uh-huh.
interesting. And it's got to be an interesting experience to be having an intimate moment with a person, but they're not making any noise.
Yeah, I can't do it. I literally will not anymore. I have gotten to the point that if I have to tell you multiple times to please make sound and you don't make sound, then I don't want to be engaging with you because I know that my body can read your body based on these nonverbal cues. And one of them is just because the sounds that you're making tell me where you're at and they help me energetically feel you. In vocal sex magic, we consciously tune the energy of each chakra individually and together, and we circle the energy. And there are different sounds that we make. And as we make those sounds individually and together, we start to harmonize and become resonant with and through each other. It's really profound. And so, if you're not willing to make any sound, there's no way to find where that resonance lives and where you can meet because
Hmm.
it's just, there's nothing to go along with.
Oh, I know we could do a whole episode on that for sure.
Yeah.
And it's I'm glad that it came up though because I think it needs to be talked about more and more of even for me, it's not just I'm realizing it's not just for the bedroom, that the way that I open that channel all the way up to speaking,
Hmm.
making sound, it's not just going to impact there. It's going to impact everywhere.
Yes,
And it's more enjoyable.
absolutely.
The more sounds and this is the other thing is like I realize the more that I work with sound and the different ways that I do sound, I'm also increasing my capacity for pleasure because it's moving through instead of stagnant in that one area of
Hmm.
my body. It's actually
Yeah,
flowing through, and I realize I'm noticing my capacity is even greater for how much
absolutely.
pleasure I can hold or handle.
Yes, 100%. Because that energy is flowing up and flowing through you. And you're right, it is moving kind of like the microcosmic orbit. I love doing breaths like the microcosmic orbit with sound as a way of amplifying and radiating and generating that pleasure capacity. And then when you do it with a partner, I find it to be so much more epic. Oh God, am I going to say this? Okay. Well, yes. Okay. I'll have to figure out where and how I'll release this. I
Okay.
had the craziest experience of my whole life a few weeks ago with a man who is a musician who conducted me in a vocal sex magic experience of me having a full-on epic orgasm that was literally just him making the sounds of like, and resonating with me to the point that I just like exploded with pleasure. And the whole
Oh,
thing was on FaceTime. So I
whoa.
wrote a spoken word about it the next morning because I was like, this needs to be captured. This was fucking epic. And that's the power of being attuned. And I haven't said that word yet. And I think that's probably the most
Yeah.
important word is you have to be attuned inside of yourself to the frequency that you're cultivating and creating and where you're actually at. And then you have to find that place, that sweet spot of attunement with the other person. And with him, it was like as soon as he would go, I would be and then he would go and then it just escalated to this epic experience.
Wow. I'm instantly like, I want to learn that.
Yes.
And I love that. Thank you for sharing that and coming up against that edge of am I going to share this and sharing it. And I think it's a beautiful example of unknown worlds,
Mhm.
unknown potential, unknown possibility, because there's so much of that in especially in intimacy and sexuality. I've explored a lot of things and it just profoundly grows and grows and grows. So I think a lot of people haven't explored as much and to know
Yeah.
that there is so much for us to discover in being curious and playing.
Mhm.
Now, I want to bring it back to what you specialize in. I know you
Mhm.
specialize in a lot,
Mhm.
but what really really grabs my attention because I don't know a lot about it, which is the tapping, the
Mhm.
EFT in connection to mindful masturbation, releasing shame, creating getting the energy to flow, whether it's helping with erectile dysfunction or lasting longer in bed. I'd love to come back to that subject.
Yeah. Well, I I I love talking about this, but I love doing it more. So are you open to me giving you a little explanation of it and then actually doing a practice? It may or may not apply to you personally, but I think
Oh
for
yeah,
many of your listeners, it will apply.
100%. It most likely applies to me in some way.
Okay.
And my encouragement, you've probably done this before, but just be mindful that we're on audio too, just for
Hmm.
the podcast listeners to so describe well
Yeah,
whatever you're doing.
for sure. Yeah, so I'll start by saying, and some of this I said a little bit earlier, I've created my own unique modality that integrates EFT with the other 16 professional development certifications that I have. And I call it Tap into Freedom, and it's a mind-body healing tool that combines the acupressure points with cognitive therapy and exposure therapy. And I weave in a lot of parts work, and because I'm a UCLA trained meditation teacher, a huge aspect of this is all about mindfulness. And so as we get into the Tap into Freedom protocol, it's only going to be effective if you're specific.
Hmm.
And so today we're going to specifically talk about the struggle of feeling like you're going to finish too fast and the anxiety that comes from that worry.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And so when you think about finishing too fast, it creates this stress response in your body. And that is triggering, I call it an echo of a time in your past where you did finish too fast and maybe you were shamed for it, or maybe you internalized and shamed yourself.
Yeah.
And so the process is really to help you release the somatically stored stress and actually feel
Hmm.
safe in the process to know that your body can heal itself and wants to return to homeostasis and actually wants to feel pleasure again. And I love this saying that I'm sure you've said on this podcast many times, you got to feel it to heal it.
Hmm.
And that is the most important part of tapping is we're focusing on the emotions and focusing on feeling the emotions so that they have an opportunity to be fully expressed and felt so that they're not continuing to just swirl around inside, but they're actually coming to the surface. We're bringing them to light. And the biggest thing that I think I haven't heard you say much about that I bring into all of my coaching work is around love, empathy, and acceptance.
Hmm.
And that is what I think makes EFT really unique. And my Tap into Freedom method is basically where we offer up kindness to the part of us that feels anxious and the part that feels ashamed. And that's the starting point because if you can't feel toward that part and you can't open up some amount of empathy in your heart, you're just like locking yourself down. And that's part of I think what is really healing masculinity right now is men who are willing to bring in that empathy and that love and that care. And so I just want to say thank you to all the men who are willing to feel their feelings and do their healing work. And I'm
Hmm.
happy to be the guide in this process.
Thank you.
And I showed you some of the points earlier, but I'll just quickly go back over them. We start at the top of the head, and you can do it with one or two hands. And you're just tapping like right in the center of your head. And then we come down with one or both hands to the inside of the eyebrows. So not right on the third eye, but just right where your eyebrow begins. And then come out to the other side of your eyebrow on your temples and tapping there on your temples. Then coming down underneath your eyes and tapping right on your cheeks under your eyes. And taking one hand and tapping on your nose. Sorry, I said on your nose, I meant under your nose. And then with that same hand, tap on your chin. And then you'll come down with both hands to the front of your chest, right under your collarbone. And there's actually a lot of meridian points that run, so you can kind of go all around the front of your chest. And then straight down to the front of your ribs. And then out, this one always looks kind of funny, like a monkey, under your armpits, or you can cross your arms over each other, whichever way feels more comfortable. Yeah, then we come down to the inside of the wrist. And from there, we go to the top side of the thumb where the thumbnail begins, and then to the side of the index finger and the top side of the middle finger. But like you were saying earlier, what you're learning about the meridians, we go to the bottom of the ring finger, and then back to the top side of the pinky. And then finally, the very last point is called the karate chop point. It's the point on the side of the hand that you tap with all four fingers of one hand on the side of the other hand. All right, you got it. So I didn't notice it happened to you yet, but what often happens to people when we start tapping is that the somatic stress release happens in a way that my teacher calls off-gassing. So you might yawn, you might burp, you might fart, you might cry, you might laugh, you might feel all tingly, you might feel really emotional. All of that, whether it's really subtle or if it's extremely distinct, tells me that it's working. And so just tracking in yourself as we go through the process that you might experience any of those things. And I am a
I feel
burper.
relaxed. I feel relaxed.
Amazing. Yes, that's a lot of what it does. And so the actual part of the tapping process that is most impactful is where I'm going to say a phrase out loud and you're going to repeat it after me. And it's a call and response. And when we do the call and response, it's reflecting the thoughts or the emotions or the experience that you're working through. And in this case, it's the performance anxiety around finishing too fast.
Mm.
But the thing that is, I think we all struggle with, is in school we were parrots. The teacher said, say blah, 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 and you just repeated it exactly. Tapping is not effective when you're a parrot. It's actually only effective when you are authentic. So
Ooh,
if I say this anxiety and then you realize it's actually fear, change it from anxiety to fear. So really match what I say in its essence to
yeah,
what is authentic to you.
yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful.
And then the magic of the whole thing, like I said earlier, is this pairing it with empathy and acceptance statements. So you put a negative cognition and a positive one together, and I call it a mind fuck because your brain would never do this on its own. Like, even though I have all this performance anxiety, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. You would never say that, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The
So when
juxtaposition.
exactly. It shakes up the brain, and that's what creates neuroplasticity. And that kind of psychological reversal gives the dissonance. That pattern interrupts your subconscious mind. And that's where we can then go in. And as the intensity of the negative feeling goes down, we can consciously create positive possibilities so that you can shape the reality that you want to have now and in the future.
Hmm,
Yeah.
beautiful.
So, I think we're almost ready to begin. I'm curious if you have any questions about the process so far.
Hmm. No, I'm just thinking about the listeners and yeah, I guess what I want to say to you is to go along with it and practice yourself. As I'm about to be led,
Hmm.
you can be led too, and you can say the things out loud that is feels most true for you.
Yes. And one thing to know is that what we're doing is going to be a mini tap. This is going to be a very short version of what I often do in 60 or 90 minutes. And so if it feels effective, do it again or schedule a session with me and go deeper. But please know that it might bring things up to the surface. And it oftentimes, especially with men, I find that if you haven't done a lot of work around being in touch with your emotions, you might start out and you're like, on a 0 to 10 scale, I'm like a 2. I feel like a tiny bit of anxiety. And then once we start tapping, that goes up to a 9, and you're suddenly like, completely overwhelmed, like, I'm so anxious. I can't deal with this. It's horrible. That is when the tapping is working because it's unblocking all those layers of protection that you have been holding onto so that you don't have to feel the thing that you don't want to feel. But
Yeah.
I promise that feeling it to heal it is effective. So I want to encourage you on the podcast and anyone listening at home to not stop if it gets intense, but to keep going because that's the way through to get to the other side. So can you agree to continue going if it gets intense for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. Okay. So I would like for you to just start by closing your eyes and taking a big deep breath in through your nose and then out through your mouth with a soft jaw and a sigh. And let your jaw wiggle and just relax and open. And do that again. Deeper breath in through the nose and a big sigh out through the mouth. And one more deep breath in and full breath out. And from this place of feeling just a little bit more in your body and a little bit more connected, I'm going to invite you to think about a time, maybe the last time, that you felt anxious about finishing too quickly. And maybe that was a long time ago, or maybe it was last week, but it doesn't actually matter. As much as you can, just bring that moment into focus and reflecting back as you put yourself there. What were you seeing, or hearing, or feeling, or smelling? And was your heart racing, or did your body tense up? Did you go numb?
Do you want me to say it or just
Nope,
about
just
it?
think it.
Okay.
Yeah. Letting your breath be however it was back then. Were you gasping or holding your breath in your chest, or was it shallow? And then from this place where you're reliving it for a moment, just go ahead and rate the anxiety from 0 to 10. And then you can say it out loud.
6.
Okay, so just remembering that number and then taking your hands and coming to the front of your chest and starting to tap on the front of your chest, repeating after me and remembering that you can change my words to be more authentic. Even though I have this fear of finishing too fast,
Even though I have this fear of finishing too fast,
I accept myself here and now.
I accept myself here and now.
Even though I feel anxious about not lasting long enough,
Even though I have this fear of not lasting long enough,
I'm open to the possibility of loving and accepting myself.
I'm opening to the potential of loving and accepting myself.
Yeah. Oh, and even though I feel this pressure to perform
Even though I feel this pressure to perform
and this worry that I will come too quickly,
and this worry that I'll come too quickly,
it is what it is.
it is what it is.
And take a big, deep, noisy breath. Ah.
Ah,
Yeah. And coming up to the inside of your eyebrows and tapping there. Repeating after me again. This anxiety that I will ejaculate too quickly.
this anxiety that I will ejaculate too quickly.
Tapping the sides of your eyes, your temples. I have all this performance anxiety.
I have all this performance anxiety.
Tapping under the eyes. This anxiety in my body when I'm with someone.
This anxiety I notice in my body when I'm with someone.
Yeah, tapping with one hand under the nose. What if I can't control it?
What if I can't control it?
Tapping on your chin and take a big deep breath. Oh, I'm open to loving and accepting myself anyway.
I'm open to loving and accepting myself anyway.
Tapping all over the front of your chest. And where do you feel it? Is it your gut, your pelvis, your chest, your perineum? Where does that
Hips,
anxiety hit?
hips.
Hips, okay. Yeah, so tapping the front of your ribs and thinking about when does it hit? Is it right before sex? Is it during sex?
In that experience during.
All right, so tapping under your armpits. Oh, feel it in my hips during sex.
Feel it in my hips during sex.
All this performance anxiety.
All this performance anxiety.
Yeah, tapping the inside of your wrist and take another deep breath. Ooh.
Ah,
I'm open to respecting myself even with this anxiety.
I'm open to respecting myself even with this anxiety.
And tapping your thumb. I'm worried I'll finish too fast and what? Disappoint my partner, something else?
I'm worried I'll finish too fast and this pleasure will be over.
Top of your index finger. Yep. When I think about that happening, oh, it tenses up my body.
And I think about that happening, oh, it tenses up my body.
Tap your middle finger. Oh, this performance anxiety.
Oh, this performance anxiety.
Tap the bottom of the fourth finger. I'm open to loving and respecting myself through this.
I'm open to loving and respecting myself through this.
Tapping the pinky. What if it lasts forever?
What if it lasts forever?
What if I never heal this?
What if I never heal this?
Ooh, just notice how that lands. For most people, it makes some part of them just screams, no. So tapping the side of your hand. I'm open to the possibility that I can heal and this can change.
I'm open to the possibility that I can heal and this can change.
Hmm. So take another deep breath. Oh.
Ah,
You can stop tapping for a second and tune into your body and track the anxiety that you started with that you said was a 6. For our listeners, whatever number you had, where is it now? What's the number from 0 to 10?
it's interesting. I feel more of it, but it's in motion instead of stuck. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like I feel kind of excited, anxiousness flowing,
Mm-hmm.
but it feels better because it's not stagnant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like I'm aware of it kind of in the same strongness, but it feels better because it's not stuck.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because it's starting to wiggle around and move and flow through you instead of just being something you're clenching or holding onto or pushing down or suppressing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's come back to the eyebrow point and we're gonna keep going with, well, just repeating after me. This remaining anxiety.
This remaining anxiety.
Tap your temple. I feel it in my, where is it now? Stomach, chest,
I
jaw,
feel it from my knees to my elbows.
From my knees to my elbows. Awesome. So tapping on the cheeks, under the eye. It feels what? Is it tight, hot, fluttery, numb,
It
something else?
feels tingly.
All right.
Feels I don't know, feels alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so tapping under your nose. This tingly aliveness.
This tingly aliveness.
Tapping on your chin. Take a big deep breath. Oh.
I'm
I'm open to accepting myself the way I am right now.
open to accepting myself the way I am right now.
My body is just doing what it does.
My body's just doing what it does.
Mm-hmm. And then tapping the front of your chest. This tension in my.
This tension in my body.
Mhm. Tapping the front of the ribs. It feels like what? What's its shape or weight or texture?
It feels like electric charge flowing through my veins.
And if it had a sound, what sound would it make?
Woo!
Awesome. Tapping under the armpits. Take a deep breath.
Ah.
I'm just noticing this without needing to fix it.
I'm just noticing this without needing to fix it.
Yeah, tapping the inside of the wrist. I'm open to staying with myself through these sensations.
I'm open and available to stay with myself through these sensations.
Mm-hmm. And tapping the thumb. What if I could soften just 5%?
What if I could soften just 5%?
Take a moment and just see if that can happen in your body.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so now turn up the dial, tap your index finger. See, what if you give yourself permission to soften 20%?
Hmm. What if I give myself permission to soften 20%?
Mm-hmm. How does that feel?
Kind of felt like, yeah, I felt the relaxation flowing through my thighs.
Mm. All right, so tap your middle finger and ask yourself, you don't have to say this out loud, but just ask yourself like what amount am I willing to soften? How far am I willing to go right now? And see what's the answer that you get.
heard all the way. And
All
then
right.
and then I heard another voice that was like, but more realistically, like 75%.
Uh-huh. Great. Well, we're going to talk to that part in just a second. So tap the bottom of your fourth finger. I'm loving and respecting myself right now.
I'm loving and respecting myself right now,
Tapping the pinky. Even with this lingering anxiety.
even with this lingering anxiety.
I've softened and I've let a lot of it go.
I've softened and I've let a lot of it go.
Yeah, tapping on the side of the hand. So now I'm open to offering some compassion to this part that wants to hold on.
So now I'm open to offering some compassion to this part that wants to hold on.
Mm-hmm. So tracking right now from 0 to 10, how anxious do you feel?
One.
Okay. So we're going to tune into this protective part. So coming back up to the eyebrow, we're going to just speak directly to this part that didn't really want to let go that last 25%. I know you're scared of finishing too fast.
I know you're scared of finishing too fast.
Tapping the temples. Thanks for trying to protect me from shame and rejection.
Thank you for trying to protect me from shame and rejection.
Tapping under the eyes. I see you.
I see you.
Tapping under the nose. I hear you.
I hear you.
Tapping on the chin. I respect how hard you've worked to keep me safe.
I respect how hard you work to keep me safe.
Yeah, tapping the front of your chest. You've been trying to keep me from failing,
You've been trying to keep me from failing,
from being embarrassed,
from being
and
embarrassed,
from being judged.
and from being judged.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, take a deep breath into that. Oh,
Ah.
tapping the front of the ribs. I am here now and I'm listening to you.
I am here now and I'm listening to you.
Tapping under the armpits. It's okay that you feel scared.
It's okay that you feel scared.
I really get it.
I really get it.
Tapping the inside of the wrist. And you don't have to do this all alone anymore.
And you don't have to do this all alone anymore.
Yeah, tapping the thumb. I've got you.
I've got you.
And I accept you even if you're still afraid.
And I accept you even if you're still afraid.
Yeah, tapping the index finger. Oh, I want. Oh, there's a hummingbird, and I feel so blessed seeing a hummingbird all of a sudden. That's incredible. I've never seen one here ever before.
Wow.
Oh, I'm letting you know that you are safe with me.
I'm letting you know that you are safe with me.
We're connected.
We're connected.
Tap the middle finger. I want to work with you and not against you.
I want to work with you and not against you.
Tapping the ring finger. It's possible that we can start feeling more present and connected and safe during sex.
It's possible that we can feel more connected, present, and safe during sex.
Yeah, tap the pinky. I love and respect you.
I love and respect you.
Yeah, tapping the side of your hand and take a big deep breath.
Ah.
And if we were doing a full long session, we go a lot deeper with this part and we'd really look at where it started when this part emerged, how old you were, what experience you had, and we would go a lot deeper. But for now, since you said you were at a one, we're going to instill some positive possibilities to wrap up this tap. And we're going to do it with asking some hypothetical questions and just noticing what answers come and just really tuning into what is true. So if what I say doesn't land exactly, just reframe it in your own words. Coming up to your eyebrows. What if I could always just feel relaxed and confident in bed?
What if I could always just feel relaxed and confident in bed?
Just breathe into the answer. And tapping the side of your eyes. And in this moment, imagine trusting your body instead of trying to control it. And then repeating after me. I give myself permission to trust my body instead of trying to control it.
I give myself permission to trust my body instead of trying to control it.
Yeah, tapping under the eyes, on the cheeks. I give myself permission to slow down and be present for what's real.
I give myself permission to slow down and be present for what's real.
Tapping under the nose. I give myself permission to feel from the inside out instead of think from the top down.
I give myself permission to feel from the inside out instead of think from the top down.
Yeah, tapping on your chin. I love and respect myself even if I'm still learning.
I love and respect myself even if I'm still just learning.
Yeah, tapping the front of your chest. I'm learning to enjoy intimacy instead of performing.
I'm learning to enjoy intimacy instead of performing.
Tapping the front of the ribs. What if my body knows what it needs?
What if my body knows what it needs?
Tapping under the armpits. I give myself permission to trust my body.
I give myself permission to trust my body.
Yeah, tapping the inside of the wrist. I trust my body's ability to learn and grow.
I trust my body's ability to learn and grow.
Tapping the thumb. I am not defined by situations from my past.
I am not defined by situations from my past.
Tapping the index finger. I am open to more slowness and more sensation and more pleasure than I've ever felt.
I'm open to more sensation, more slowness, and more pleasure than I've ever felt.
Give a big yes to that one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Uh-huh. And having the middle finger. I love and accept myself through this whole process.
I love and accept myself through this whole process.
Tapping the bottom of the fourth finger. I am worthy of connected and soul satisfying sex.
I am worthy of connected and soul satisfying sex.
Tapping the pinky. I am reclaiming my body, my pleasure, and my power.
I'm reclaiming my body, my pleasure, and my power.
Tap the side of the hand. And so it is.
And so it is.
All right, so tapping all over your body and just noticing what's there. And the whole idea of this is to give you freedom from all the old stuck emotions and to let the performance anxiety dissolve from the inside out. And so just know that if this doesn't feel like a complete process, that there's more work that can be done. And thank you for your willingness to start the process. And yeah, I'm curious, Mr. Wood, how was it for you?
Oh, it's so good. I'm in the negatives now. I'm more relaxed than I started. So yeah,
Mhm.
it feels great. Mm, I feel like I took a painkiller.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
naturally release some endorphins for
Yeah,
sure.
I feel that natural relaxation, parasympathetic, calming. Um, yeah, and I could imagine doing that over and over and some profoundness to that.
Absolutely. I've been doing it for years and it's changed my life. And one thing I haven't mentioned this whole episode is that one of the really unique things about what I offer, I call it Tap into Freedom Psychedelic EFT because I trained in ketamine assisted therapy. Even though I don't practice therapy, I do tapping instead. And so I actually am trained to do tapping sessions with people both in preparation and during a ketamine journey and after in integration. And that can really take you a lot deeper because your protectors soften and you feel a lot more of that openness and willingness to really go into that material that can feel sensitive.
I believe that this would support every man in any way. Who are the main men that can benefit from tapping and learning more about it, whether it's the work that you do or them looking it up themselves? Who are the main niche groups of men that can really
Mhm.
benefit from this?
I have found that men who are already doing the work benefit the most. Men who are already in a men's group, men who are in therapy, men who have been doing a lot of the talking about their feelings.
Yeah.
This takes them to the next level. It goes from talking about your feelings to actually feeling your feelings and processing them in real time. And I really think it's for the men who want to see conscious change, the men who want to be the creators of their reality instead of feeling trapped in circumstances. Like, I know a lot of men who want to be practicing sex magic and have no idea how to go about it. I think this is a great entry point into that world of consciously creating what it is you want to feel and experience in relation to your body and in relation to sex.
And I imagine that it's also extremely beneficial for the man that feels performance anxiety and
100%.
erectile dysfunction worries or premature ejaculation worries, that there would be a profound
Mhm.
benefit there as well.
I've been fantasizing for probably over a year now. There's this like hims.com that like they sell the ED pills
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
pop up in all these random places and I'm like, I want to be that ad. Like I want to be the like rebuttal for, yo, you think you need hims? Come to me. Yeah, because there's so many people who need it. And so, yeah, if you're listening to this and you have a friend or a lover or a loved one who has been struggling and really wants to feel more confident in the bedroom and confident in their body's ability to heal and transform, send them this episode.
And yeah, I think that there's room for all of us, varying degrees. I think that so much as a man, there's this hidden, not talked about code that is how much that works all the time, and how good it is such a measurement of the man that we are. And
Mhm.
so liberating ourselves and doing practices like this where there's a release, where there's movement, is going to actually free us up to feel relaxed so that that potential can actually express itself.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for sharing this. I'm so grateful to have it on the podcast and to have people be. I'll direct people to this for sure. Like I'll send them the YouTube and just have them do this. I'll probably make it its own piece. So
Yeah.
I'm very appreciative of you coming on the podcast today, and I want to work with you personally. I want to work with you and create things. So I look forward to continuing to learn from you and keep the
Mhm.
conversations going.
Amazing. I'm so grateful to get this work out into the world. So thank you for the opportunity to get to share about all of this. And it's been so beautiful to watch you unfold in this process. Thank you for trusting me.
Yeah. And of course, I'll put whatever you want me to share in the description for the listeners. Is there anything that you want to talk about specifically that you offer on the show?
You know, we haven't mentioned this whatsoever at all, but I am a musician and that's my number one thing. And so I want to tell all the listeners to go listen to my music on Spotify.
All right, where can they find it? Is it under Victoria Angel Heart?
It's three words, Victoria Angel Heart, anywhere you listen to music. And depending on when this episode comes out, I'm releasing a new song next month called Fill My Soul with Love and a couple more songs in the next few months. So there's a lot of things on the horizon.
Beautiful. Well, I'll put that in the description, the link to your Spotify, because we'll be on Spotify, so it'll be an easy for people to branch over to that. Thank you
Amazing.
so much for the work that you're doing. And yeah, I'm excited to know you.
Me too. Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thank you, listeners. I hope you enjoyed. Of course, comment, share whatever came up for you. You can reach out to me personally or just comment wherever you're listening, watching this. We'll see you on a future episode, and go liberate yourself and create more pleasure and power in your own life.
Yes.